Welcome to the Antlered Crown podcast, where we discuss brews, witchcraft, spirituality, and more.
We hope through conversation we can continue the trend of the collective awakening or learn something new from ourselves and each other.
Today we'll be drinking tea
Again. How unusual for us.
How unusual. Just tea.
Then we're going to talk to our favorite Scottish witch talker.
Yes, we are. So come on in.
And then...
Beyond the weather and the marsh, there is a whisper in the dark through the tides of disarray, where a wisdom knows the way. If you listen very still, there are answers to the endless, where the ancient pulses deep of the memories you keep.
Welcome to the Antlered Crown podcast. I'm Elwyn, and I'm the fourth generation hedge witch.
And I'm Amanda, the mom reader, and I am the only American here today because we're talking to Morgaine.
We are.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
And
for being
we're
here.
drinking tea. Are you drinking anything?
I'm drinking orange juice from a fancy whiskey glass.
Wow,
Ooh.
wow.
Making
kind
it
of-
fancy.
What kind of
Nice.
tea do you have?
PG tips.
Just the tip.
Just every time.
Classic.
I'm drinking this one. Flying Bird Botanicals. Chocola or Chocola?
I like that you brought it with you so that you
No, because I have to read it off.
Chocola.
Share this deliciously chocolately rich and spicy tea with someone you love.
Chocolate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Say what's in it. It's
Does it
there,
say?
it says that
Where?
ingredients. Pineapple.
Sorry. Under ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I had it. Organic heirloom cocoa nibs, organic roasted chicory root, roasted carob, organic spices, and vanilla bean. So it's very like,
It's very chocolatey. It's like hot
Chocolatey.
chocolate, but without the sweet.
yeah.
That
Thanks.
sounds really good, but also quite confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a, remember they brought out Tab that was just clear cola. It was called Tab.
Oh yeah.
It's like that. It's just like it's clear hot chocolate. It's very
Yeah.
very odd.
It's really nice. Yeah. It's like all the chocolate without the calories.
I prefer the calories.
Yeah, no. All right. Well,
Okay.
shall we begin?
Let us.
Let us. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Here we go.
Okay, you're first. There you
Oh,
go.
that's good. Can I pick or do I go from the top?
Yeah, go from the top, babe.
Oh.
Unless you want to do a different one.
That's what I just asked.
Okay, well, you do that one first.
All right. Well, I'll do this. Yeah. What prompted you?
So sorry.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
What prompted you on this spiritual journey to begin your practice into witchcraft?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I was always a bit of a weird child. I was just kind of, that strange one who would like run up to like fortune teller booths and be like, I want this so much. But my family was very Christian, so it wasn't something that I had that much access to.
Right.
So when I was around 14, I came across some more like love and light spiritual slash like witchy people, like mostly on Instagram. And I was swept up by it. That's kind of like when that started. And when it all kind of started to develop. And then over the years, I kind of moved away from the more like love and light stuff, which I needed at the time, and towards just like what is now my own craft. So,
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah. I think that's actually too where a lot of people come in is the love
Yeah.
and light side of
Oh,
it
yeah.
and spirituality, and they start with the chakras and the yoga
Yeah.
and meditation.
And that's because, let's be honest, when people find a path, any spiritual path,
Mhm.
usually the first thing that is needed is healing.
Right.
So
mhm.
it is that
Yes.
healing that attracts them. But then the thing about especially witchcraft is that it offers the healing, but once the healing is done, and you are stronger, and you've gone past certain things,
Mhm.
there's still other things there to learn after that. It offers more than just now you're healed, get on with your life.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Where do you think
I think
you
it's a good
began?
stepping stone.
Yeah, it is, honestly. Where do you think you began? I mean, I know your aunts were
Honestly,
in witchcraft,
I
so but they were more healing as well.
they were all to do with the light sort of
Mhm.
stuff. That was very a big part of it. We didn't talk about any other forms of witchcraft at all.
Mhm.
Just wasn't spoken about.
Yeah.
They were healers, readers, herbalists as well. Now, there was magic performed,
Right.
but it's the old fashioned sort of magic that's you can't really tell if it's magic or not, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's all very, like I remember there being a wooden spoon. Yeah, there was a wooden spoon, but this wooden spoon must have been about 40 years old. And it was, I realized
Like
later
kitchen
on,
magic? What do
yeah,
you mean?
sort
Oh,
of
okay.
thing,
I was like, what were they doing with this? I don't know.
nothing weird. I'm just saying how some things like that back then were hidden in plain sight.
Got it.
We don't have to do that now. But
No.
the point being is that I think I had a curiosity into other things as well.
Mhm.
And that was a curiosity that they didn't try and stop, but they did constantly warn me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a big part of it for me, was pushing out on my own after that, trying to find things around. But then again, that was difficult, especially as a young child. Didn't have the internet. I remember going
Yeah,
to
that's true.
W.H.
Right.
Smith's. My father took me to W.H. Smith's, and I said, I want to get a book on witchcraft. And they had this little tiny book here. That's all they had. And it was black, and it had glittery things, there's
Ooh.
spells on it. And it had
Ooh, glitter.
it had a pink and blue ribbon that held the
And
two
your dad
bindings
was
together.
like, what
My
are you
dad-
doing with this,
My dad
son?
was like,
Go
"You
play
sure you want-"
rugby.
He was like, "You should." No, he'd never do that. But he was like, "You sure you want that?" I was like, "No, I'm
No, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
No.
But it's not what I was expecting." Yeah,
Aw.
so it was tough trying to learn other things, new things as well,
Yeah.
that I wanted to do.
And it's wild because, and Morgaine probably experiences this too, but like people ask for so much from practitioners online. And it's like, we've done the research. We've had to contend with like finding books, especially you. I know you read a ton of books, Morgaine. So it's
Love a good book.
it's wild. And do you want to, either of you want to share your experience on people asking you for everything? Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess like some of it is really hard. I think you'll probably feel the same, Elwyn, in some ways, because there's some things that people will ask me for books on that I'm like, although I read so much books, there are certain things that I didn't learn from books. It's just like Scottish tradition. You kind of realize a lot of that is just, it's just what people would call Celtic witchcraft.
Right.
I didn't learn that from looking at a book, and that's really hard. And then again, once you've read so many books, it's like, I don't know. I don't remember all the books that led me to the conclusion that I gathered from all of them.
Yeah, entirely.
So that's really hard.
There are things that I bet you found this as well. There are things that you may have done, and then you've tweaked it or you've changed something, and you do it in your craft, and then years later you read it in a book, and they'll say there's this method, and they call it something. You're like, I've been doing that. I never learned it. I've just been doing that.
Right.
And I think that's always a good kind of. I like that because it shows that if you stick to your path in that sense, you stick to what feels right in your craft, you can't go wrong.
Right.
Because we don't just learn from books.
No.
It's one of those things that it teaches you as you go along. Yeah.
But there's like, I don't know, there's almost like a demand for your information though, because you are learning it in your own way.
Yeah.
How do you handle that with being nice now?
You begin to become less nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I think
'cause you have to.
yeah, at some point you've just kind of got to learn to ignore sounds really harsh, but at least every single time I post a video, there was someone be commenting, oh, can you tell me about this? And in my head, I'm like, no, I just can't, for like various reasons. I can't really tell you that. And instead of trying to explain that now, I just kind of leave it, you know.
Right. Right.
It's better sometimes just to be like, this sounds really big-headed, and I don't mean for it to be big-headed.
Oh God.
Okay, but you can kind of understand why, like, big creators and influencers, people can't message them, or when they do message them, they don't respond, because you just can't. Sometimes you just can't. Like, there are things people like, if they can't get hold of me, they'll come to Instagram, which is fine. I don't mind that. But sometimes it's just like things that they're asking, and I'm like, I can't give you that. I can't give you what you're asking there. The same with what you were saying, spell work. It can be the same. Sometimes people want everything. Like, once someone asked me if they can be famous.
Spell to be famous.
And I was like, I can, like, you have everything you need to get famous. Like, if I was just to wave a wand and then you just sit down and be like, well, one day now I'm going to be famous. You're never going to be famous. It's like, it takes you still have to do the work. This is just to sway the odds in your favor, you know. And I think people get those confused. They expect, now it's done.
They expect Disney magic. They expect, sparkles.
Absolutely.
And rainbows out
like
of your ass.
fantasy novel.
Oh,
that's hard to interact with. That's so hard to kind of, because I think it comes from a lot of people starting off their witchcraft paths, or just the path of their craft, on either like TikTok or Tumblr or somewhere like that, where there's like a lot of young people just kind of bouncing off each other's ideas and saying that, you know, oh no, this is definitely right. This kind of crazy ass thing is totally normal. And it's like, wait a minute, no, let's slow down. But that's like already what they've learned is a normal thing to expect from your craft.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I do think too, since there's so many younger witch talkers, that there's almost, I don't know where I'm going with this train of thought, but that they've learned all they can learn. I think there's like a lot of witch talkers that maybe are big-headed because they're like, oh, I've done what I've needed to do now, or I've learned what I've needed to learn, and I've made it because I have a bigger following. And it's like, you still have so much to learn, like from other people that are older than you, that have been in the practice longer than you, that
you
have
never
read more
stop
books.
learning. You're like, in the way of magic, you're a student, and you're a student until the day you die. Like, it doesn't matter how far up you go. I agree. It's something that because of trends on TikTok. The problem with trends is it influences greatly people who are studying or practicing magic. So then, for instance, candle magic. Candle magic now has become a huge trend. Whereas in the 90s, candle magic was just a thing. You know, it's like, oh, it's one of those things, but it was a beginner thing. It wasn't something that, you know, it wasn't advanced magic. It was you know, a quick, simple thing. And the levels of sort of candle magic that you see people doing, now it's got to the point where people don't see any other form of magic. They don't want to try any other form of magic.
I mean, speaking to a trend, like I remember last year spell jars were like the hot fucking ticket item on Witch Talk. Like I could not go anywhere without seeing another spell jar and what you're putting in. So I think maybe this year's just candle, and last year it was spell jars. Like,
I really don't like spell jars.
No,
I know.
I don't either.
Really?
I
like them.
Every time I see it, I'm like,
they're cute.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
they're cute to look at, but I've never done a spell jar and been like, this has worked so well for me.
Right.
Like, because I just look at it and I'm like, where am I going to put you? And I fill it with the stress of not
put you with
knowing
all
where
my
I'm
other
gonna
jars
keep
full
it.
of crap.
Just ruins it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly.
God.
That's honestly, it's like I've got jars full of the same herb,
Mhm.
But then that one just jars with different herbs, and it's like that's too much. I
Too
like
many
all my
herbs.
herbs separated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, for me, it's not.
Is
It's
there
never been
is there a
appealing.
particular type of magic that either of you like to practice more so than others?
You answer.
Oh.
I think right now, Seder magic is the shit. I love it. It's so
Yeah.
ritualistic and based on ceremony. And that is where I feel like the most magical, where my energy is
Mhm.
really being used well. I think especially if you're raised in sacred spaces or going to sacred spaces, like having that ceremony just makes it so much more like, this is real.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
really like Seder magic.
That's awesome.
Mm.
What about you?
I do like hallowing the compass. Yeah.
Hallowing the compass.
But I think there's a bit of magic because you have the same book, because you got the same book when we were, and there's, I don't know if you've read it yet, but a thing about the fetch.
I've
It's
not
called
read
a
that.
fetch spirit. It's something I'm looking into.
Yeah.
It's basically your fetch is your familiar, but it is also you're almost like married to it. Okay. It can usually takes the form of an animal, your fetch, and it shows you this step-by-step thing.
It's like a Patronus.
Difficult, kind of
Yeah.
difficult to it's difficult to do, but eventually
Mhm.
you will see and interact with your fetch. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
'Cause
But you're trying to figure out what animal your fetch would be.
it
We
doesn't
haven't figured
always
it out
have
yet.
to be an animal.
Well, yeah.
But oftentimes it comes in the form of an animal.
Mm.
Yeah. But usually it's same as with totem animals, I suppose. But the
Yeah.
fetch is actually a part of you. It's part of it's like a facet of your soul, your spirit, you know.
Right.
So yeah,
What
that's
can your
something.
fetch do? Does it fetch things?
Yes, that's the point. It's not just
Question.
it's an actual thing that you can use as a familiar to do things for you and to aid you and things.
Like house
Is it-
protections and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Like kind of similar to some animal necromancy, or is it kind of more just like an extension of yourself?
I think it's more an extension of yourself, but it doesn't. It has its own kind of thought. It has its own kind of train of thought in things and things like that. Its own agency. But I'll let you know when I do it, because I haven't done it yet. But I've been reading about it, and it's quite difficult. And it can take. Well, he said it could take years actually.
Oh,
I was
God.
like,
That is a long-term project.
yeah, it is.
It really is.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing you have learned from the Witch Talk community, and what has your experience with it been like? Give us the tea.
Oh, I should like preface everything I say by, the obvious thing that Witch Talk has made me meet so many wonderful people like you guys, and it has given me a job, and there's so much to complain about, but there's also so much that I need to like be very grateful for as well. I don't know, I think it really confirmed for me a lot of suspicions that I already had about like group mentality, collectivist group thinking, and like mass hysteria in a way. And so I guess I'd like already had those thoughts about that, well, this is kind of what happens when people operate in groups under a group identity, but seeing it in play it is kind of nuts sometimes. It's I think now I feel a lot more detached from it, and I can just kind of watch in a way that's like, oh my God, what is going on today? But it is quite crazy. What about you guys?
I agree. I think the irony of a lot of witches having a witch hunt due to the mass hysteria of things. It's quite funny, really.
And the jealousy though.
The jealousy thing is a big thing. So there is a lot of jealousy, and I don't fully get that either. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why. It's not.
and just not even being understanding of other people's cultures, of other people's practices. It's like,
There is a
no,
lot
my
of-
way is the only right way. I see that a lot. Like,
There's a lot
oh,
of
I disagree with that. And it's like, that's fine, but that doesn't make it wrong.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of reconstituted things
Mhm.
that get sent out there, because let's be honest,
Yeah.
if you have something good to say on TikTok,
Mhm.
it may not become popular.
True.
However, someone else may do the same thing and it may be popular.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, they get things from different places. They don't do their research sometimes. Then they make a TikTok, and the reason why the TikTok gets big so that a lot of people may even believe it is because there's a lot of people saying this isn't true, this isn't correct. Because I said it before, friction creates views,
Yeah.
or friction means followers.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate part of Witch Talk, I think.
Mhm. But on the other hand, not
Mhm.
just being like a negative Nancy, it is really like,
All right.
we've met so many great people.
Oh no, we've met loads of great
Like,
people. I
we
wasn't
went to
talking about
Salem
that.
this fall. We went
Yeah.
to England and
Mm.
we met you, and it's just like, it's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. Like,
Yeah.
That was really cool for me. It's nice to know that there are, in amongst all the madness,
Yeah.
there are people that are actually like me, like, oh, you guys think like I do. That's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I think that's what I was trying to say,
Mm.
is that those people may not show up on the main For You page of Witch Talk a lot
Right.
of the time,
Yep.
because that's where as you said, the tea is.
Mm.
But there's a lot of people on TikTok, using TikTok, who are like us in that sense, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't put it right. I sound like I was over to complain. I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay.
We'll edit that out.
Just using discernment, I think, is really important too, because like it's hard because like not a few of our friendships, but just a few of the people we've gotten to know haven't turned out to be who we thought we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just that's, I think, the most difficult part of making friendships on Witch Talk is like, oh wait, you really don't like me actually.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's a hard line
I think
to
you
walk.
deal with that harder than I do.
I do. Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
I'm
deal with
like,
that pretty hard.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just
You
like,
like it?
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Well, and we've talked before about how people like kind of attack me for like my more ditzy
that does annoy me.
ditzy personality.
When it's about me, I don't mind. When it's about you,
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm actually really smart.
Yeah, I want to come to war. I want to go to war. When I see anyone talking about you guys on any level, I have to hold myself back. I'm like, okay,
I know.
let's take 3 deep breaths before we roast this person in the comments.
I know.
I think it's usually because like you're very relaxed as well. Like we're in a safe place to relax, and you just be yourself, and that's
Mhm.
good. But then someone turns up and says something nasty, and you're just
Yeah.
like, really?
Yeah.
That annoys me.
Yeah.
That does.
Right. Well,
But yeah.
there's always gonna be some bad eggs in the bunch or whatever. Some jealous people. So
Oh, it's all right.
it's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but they're not around now, are they? So
True that.
yeah.
I don't know why, but sorry, Amanda. Just make sure to cut this part out at
Oh, I'll
29
do
minutes.
this.
Why is this sound so low? It's like I have to like be in the microphone like this.
It's
for it
because
to
you're a
sound good.
stooper. You naturally
I
stoop.
know, it's stupid, you asshole. Such a dick.
I can hear you guys pretty good.
I'm a perfectionist.
Honestly,
My Virgo rising is really showing. It's like,
Yeah.
if you weren't here, she's like she nudges me usually during the podcast if I move too far away from the
yeah,
mic,
yeah, this is like
or
this.
if I
You
go
can
and
hear
grab
it
my vape
nice.
because I'm going to grape. She gives me this look,
No.
like-
Like, absolutely not.
then she's like, "You're breathing. Stop breathing." I'm like, "You're breathing into the mic." So I'm like,
I'm so aggressive. Well, because it takes me a good like 2 days to edit these.
It
So
does,
I
to be
mean,
fair.
it's
Ooh, wow.
yeah, it's a few hours because like I have to equalize it and pull all the background noises out. So it takes me a while because again, I'm a perfectionist. Oh, so this is more on the same line. How have you handled trolling, negativity, etc.?
I think so. what's quite interesting is before I came on Witch Talk for a very, very brief period of time, I'm talking like probably 2 weeks, I had another TikTok. It was the first TikTok account I made. I was still pretty late to the game, and it was just me talking about uncomfortable moments in history and just relaying them in a factual way without, well, with as least ideology as I could possibly put on the event. It's like, this
Right.
is what's happening. This
Okay.
was interesting. And one of them, because of a particular group of people, I'm trying to say it without saying it,
Yeah.
a particular group of people who didn't like the facts that I was sharing, it kind of went like semi-viral. And seeing the kind of very impulsive, I don't even, polemical, just very harsh comments that people would spew, but they'd all be in the same kind of way. It was very interesting. I think it was a very good preparation for Witch Talk as well. Like, nobody means
Yeah.
what they actually say.
Yeah.
No one means it when they comment these things. They're just impulsive and
Right.
feeling aggregated.
Mhm.
So, like, you know, users, random users with no faces that I can't see, that's not really what bothers me.
Mhm.
I think like personal beefs, that's where I
Yeah.
tripped up. That's where I need to like hold myself back and be like, this is just not worth
Mhm.
it.
It's very hard sometimes.
It is.
It's very hard. There was a particular person who kept trying to goad me with videos,
Mhm.
and it wasn't. It was the only purely the reason is because, as I said, friction means followers,
Mhm.
and for them, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
And you sometimes when someone is attacking you, when someone is perhaps calling you, trying to call you out on something,
Right.
you want to respond. You want to set the record straight, and but at the same time, it doesn't matter to that individual. It just fuels them. It gives them more ammunition, and it's really hard to just kind of hold back and be like, because you sometimes I've made a few videos where she's gone, you can't post that video.
Yeah.
You can't post that video. Like, it's good, but no. Like,
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I think I've learned that ignoring it for the most part is honestly the best thing to do. And I mean, the people that tend to go out of their way to make these videos where they're just attacking strangers that they've not even really listened to what the video has said, for the most part, you kind of see them trail off in some way, or they go too far and their account gets deleted or something like that. Like, it's just, it's not sustainable for them.
No.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right.
That's the thing, especially when someone tries to make something outlandish or do something outlandish, and they're trying to be explicit because it brings in the and then they just try and top it more and more.
Exactly.
To recreate that same kind of win for them on the platform, and then until eventually someone reports them or they get taken down. It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work. That's
No,
why
it
I'm very
doesn't.
lucky, because I'm just a monotone. I just sit there, I just talk.
You're just more informative than anything. I mean,
If I scratch my nose, that's more exciting.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you could give one piece of advice, we're not calling them baby witches anymore.
No, I don't like
We're
that.
calling them students of witchcraft, aren't we?
Just witches.
Just witches.
New witches.
New witches.
New witches.
Yeah.
I like that.
There was actually someone in your comments that made a comment and was like, I like the term baby witches though. And it's like, okay, like, good for you.
Good for you. Call yourself.
And then they're like 55 years old. I was like, but that doesn't make sense.
Well, it can do, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, like,
okay.
I just think it's derogatory, because, like, even if it's like one person calls another person, like, if their friend's a baby witch, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it won't stay there. Like, eventually someone will call someone a baby witch and mean it as a derogatory
as a derogatory term.
Yeah, like, you know nothing compared to me. It's like, okay.
Exactly. How about just, if you could give one piece of advice for new witches, what would it be? Either or, all are open to the table.
I think I would say stay true to yourself and really, really think about what that means. Don't just follow what other people are doing. Really question everything you see.
Right.
And if it doesn't feel right to you on like the most authentic level, then just don't do it.
Yeah.
That's all I would say, I think.
Yeah. And mine's pretty much the same, that your truth, whatever that is, your truth of something will change. To question everything is fine, but also question yourself in many ways. Question, because you will look back and the things that you had learned and things that you had done, you would not do the same.
Right.
You're constantly evolving, and it's difficult because nothing is fixed. Nothing's fixed in that sense. The only thing that's fixed is you as a person, who you are. And yeah, that's the thing to focus on most of all.
Also say avoid titles as much as possible. Sure, like if you want to just describe what kind of magic you're doing and all of that kind of stuff, sure, that is totally fine, and it might make sense to use that so that people know like what kind of stuff you're doing. But things like oracle or high priestess, these very grandiose titles, just steer clear of them. You don't need them. It's about you. It's not about that.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. I also, I think in relation to deities, I think people get very invested in deities, and their deities and deities change from what I understand. I don't have a deity that I work with. I think people, they're like, oh, I practice Celtic magic, and maybe they're not originally from, you know, a Celtic area or something like that. And then they get so invested and they buy all these things like to do with Celtic folklore and this and this and that. And all of a sudden they're not feeling that deity anymore, and they have all this shit. And it's like,
if you don't feel connected to a deity with no other forms of paraphernalia, then you're not going to be connected, even if you had a gold statue of them.
Just don't buy a bunch of shit. There's my baby witch tip.
That's a good one, actually, because on your path you will acquire and you will make a lot of crap.
Yeah, that's true.
You do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I'd make all sorts of weird things. And then I dig them out and like, oh yeah, I remember that.
True that.
Yeah.
I throw them away all the time.
I know, you really shouldn't.
Like
I'm clearing out, spring cleaning.
She does.
Yeah, I wish there was more of a kind of like level-headed guidebook for students of witchcraft or beginner witches who would like to do deity work and not replace that work with human relationships.
Right.
Other way around. Not replace human relationships with that deity work not go too far down the rabbit hole.
I know.
Because it's so easy. It's so easy, especially because we've all been so lonely for the past 2 years in isolation.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's so easy to just put so much on something.
Everyone's made their own Wilson.
Their Wilson. Oh, from Castaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
It is though, a bit, isn't it? Because I see on TikTok as well, some people, the way they talk to them and the way that they say that they're having a and I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
I believe in deities.
Yeah.
100%.
You work with deities, yeah.
I work with deities, but I don't talk to them on a daily basis.
Well, what does a deity relationship look like for you?
For me, it's a working relationship. It's more like a guide.
Right.
I don't sit and have talks with my guide and like about everything and anything.
Okay.
My guide isn't my therapist, and neither is a deity. I don't worship my deities. They're a work colleague.
Yeah.
That's how I see them. They're a work colleague for my own progression as well as what I'm trying to do.
Well, it seems like lately, whenever a deity comes in and starts giving you signs of their presence, it means, like, for him, it means it's time to level up, in my opinion. It's like you have some barrier that's preventing you from leveling up in your magic, and it's like a human barrier.
Yes, just call me out. Call me out on here. It's fine.
And they're like, "Hey, bitch,
time to level up."
Yep. And you're just like, nah.
That's not true.
Yeah, you do.
That's not. That's
Morgaine
not
can
even,
confirm, actually,
it's
but
not just that.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think
now.
that's fairly normal though. I think it's like for me when a new deity comes in, which is like fairly rare now,
yeah.
it's usually that their story, like either in mythology or just symbolically of who that deity is having some kind of play in my own life, and I'm ignoring the actual lesson, and they would, they're like, here's read, bitch.
Look what happened to me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
learn from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get Anubis sometimes, which is very odd.
Anubis.
When I was very, very young,
Mm-hmm.
my great aunt had a love of everything to do with ancient Egypt, and she would have many things like that. And I never really thought of it much. It was never really something that appealed to me that much. But then all of a sudden, I was doing something, and like Anubis is, I've felt that presence about 3 times now. First time it happened, it reduced me to tears.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was weird, but even then, I'm just like, that was cool. Get on with your day. Don't read too much into what that could have meant.
Yeah, I know you do.
I know.
Yeah, I will ignore stuff until it has showed up for the 500th time and it's banging on my walls and my windows to let it in.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm the same. Oh.
I actually wanted to ask how your boyfriend's been kind of dealing with it, because I know initially he wasn't part as much of the occult scene, which should we say occult witchcraft scene? Our scene.
The scene.
and how that's been developing for you too, because I think a lot of people out there probably are going through that.
Yeah, it was really interesting because before Witch Talk, I hadn't spoken to anyone, not a single soul, about what was, going on within me and how I perceived the universe and the world. And when I stumbled upon Witch Talk, I was like, oh, people are talking about this here. Okay. And I kind of got into the normal habit of talking about it.
Right.
So I would talk about it to my partner, who didn't grow up with any kind of religion or like spirituality in that kind of sense. And so this was something not only totally foreign to him in every conceivable way, but also because it had seemingly come out of nowhere because I would not speak about it.
Right.
I think he was kind of like, girl, what's going on? And he's a very, very honest person.
Yeah.
So he'd ask me a lot of uncomfortable questions. And because I was so protective of like my beliefs, and I wasn't used to sharing them, and it felt like more of a threat than a curious question, it would end up in me getting very emotional. And over time, like, it just took many conversations and moments of acceptance to kind of realize, like, okay, this is my thing, you have a totally different view on that, and that's your thing. But even since then, like, my partner does a PhD in history, and he's been doing like a lot more research on the occult in his area. I notice he'll like pick up like deity candles for me when he's out, if something like that, like little sweet kind gestures of like, I accept that this is you, accept who I am, and that's not that, you know what I mean? Give people time because they're probably not going to get it for straight away.
No. I think that's very true.
Yeah.
That giving people time, especially. I think I forget. Sometimes if people come into my office and they haven't been in here before.
Yeah.
And all the things and everything that's out. And
so witchy haven in
their
here.
their eyes are just darting around the room. They keep darting over to the altar and stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, hey, stop, look, I'm over here, I'm talking to you, and I forget, like, it's not normal for some people. It's they have questions. I look at something and I'm like, I know what that's for. They're looking at all these different things, like, I don't know what any of this is. Yeah.
I think that's, yeah. I mean, initially when you started doing readings and going on TikTok and stuff,
Mm,
I wasn't like spiritual at all.
mm. Well,
I,
you were at that point. You was.
yeah. Well, I was spiritual in the sense of healing,
Yeah.
like you were
Mhm.
speaking to, with love and light and healing and, yoga and meditation and that stuff. So
Mm,
it was definitely you kind of threw me into the fire because it was a lot of things I didn't know that I feel more comfortable talking about now.
mm.
Mm.
But I just don't have the time to dedicate to my practice. And that's something I'd really like to start this year
Yeah.
because I mean, I can speak from the other side of the witch talker spouse, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's like, oh my goodness, there's like this whole other part of you that I didn't even know about. And that I'm like,
Mm.
falling in love with because I love you.
Oh, that's
Oh,
better. I was waiting for that. Thank you.
Aw.
but it is a little overwhelming at first, for sure. You're like, what?
I mean, when you first met me,
Yeah.
magic and all those things from my past weren't something I
You weren't practicing.
weren't practicing. I wasn't
Correct.
open about. And
Right.
then I came to this country and I didn't really bring much with me.
Mhm.
But you knew about me and stuff like that. You just didn't know the extent of it,
Yeah.
I think,
Correct.
and what it really was and what it
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
Like I just didn't think of it. I don't know why. Even now, like looking back, like it was so obvious. I just didn't put two and two together. Like,
I think
oh my goodness.
when you don't know like
Mhm.
especially what certain things mean though, it can look so much more crazy than it actually is.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
even I'm trying to think of an example, but even if you mention like, oh, I had a prophetic dream, you say that to someone who doesn't know what you're talking about, and you sound like you are crazy. You are crazy,
Yeah.
rather than just you've had a dream that has personal significance to what is going on in
Mhm.
your life.
Right.
Things like that, or even if you say like I'm kind of witchy, I think most people rightfully will think, oh, maybe you like black clothes and maybe a
Yeah.
crystal or two.
Mhm.
And then boom,
Right.
necromancy in the living room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does make that jump, doesn't it? It's not a gradual slope. It's like
You
you're
gotta,
either a little witchy or you're full on a weirdo.
hey,
No, I'm saying from an outsider's
I
perspective.
mean, it is weird how people like change. Like my friend is like, I found this for you, and it was like a witch's. It wasn't a witch's skull. It was a fish's skull
A fish skull.
that he found on the beach, and he brought it all the way back from Florida, and it's on my altar now. It's like it's got a special fin thing. It's this little. I went, oh, thank you. But it's like before that, he never would have.
You
But
never
now,
would have picked up a
the
skull and be
amount of
like,
times people are
Ellen
like,
will like this.
"There's this dead thing.
Yeah.
Do you want me to?
You want me to grab it for
Do you want
you?
me to grab it for you?" Like, and it is a thing now. It is a thing, and I appreciate it immensely. It's like,
I love dead things. Thanks.
yeah, but they're just so useful.
Yeah.
There's a part in one of the books that I'm reading,
Mhm.
and it's like, if you're a bit squeamish about this, then why are you trying to do traditional magic in the first place?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even that bad. It was like fox fur. Like you just if you find some fox fur, or you
Right.
find a dead rodent or something like that.
Mm.
There you go. You can
Where am
ask
I?
some now.
Okay. Oh, that is a good one.
Mm.
How do you balance your magical and mundane?
Ooh, that is a
Ooh.
good question. I think, to be honest, I try to. So there's kind of like three different, I guess, main sectors of my life.
Right.
There's like the TikTok, you know, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing my readings, and I'll make silly videos about
Yeah.
like a spirit interaction or something like that.
Right.
Then there's my actual craft, which is just very personal. And I'm not the kind of person who's going to be doing castings every other day or to be honest, anywhere near that.
Yeah.
And it's much more of just like an internal philosophical process.
Mhm.
But because that requires so much like abstract thought, which can just become so overwhelming, I try to keep the people around me in my like personal day-to-day life, like in my city,
Mhm.
just just like normal people with their own
Yeah.
like strangeness, but it's not the same strangeness that I have. And I find that really helps. And sometimes you
Yeah.
got to turn off your phone and just
Mhm.
not get sucked up into the like witch talk world. And sometimes you got to put down the esoteric books because you're going a little bit too far on one side of like the scales.
Right.
And I really like mundane life as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's so many nice things about that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's nice to kind of feel like a little bit of a Hannah Montana kind of bitch. You know what I mean?
You don't know what
My
that
double
is, do you?
life.
Do you know what Hannah Montana
Of course
is?
I know who
I
Hannah
don't know.
Montana
You're a bit
is.
old.
Queen.
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, I know things.
We're not promoted by Miley Cyrus.
We're not all Hannah Montana.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, I like that. I like that answer because a lot of times I feel like people are like, "Oh, just incorporate magic into your life." So I'm like, "No, you don't have to. You could just literally, separate those from each other.
Magic is life.
Magic is life. Mundane
well,
is
like-
magic."
There is that. I think everyone's
Mhm.
where magic and the mundane meet is different for everyone.
Right.
Because there are things like if something was to happen that is very ordinary, but is not
Right.
ordinary for you, you can consider it magic. But it's ordinary for everyone else. So it does change,
Yeah.
that spectrum and where that changes. And I've struggled a lot
Right.
with the mundane and the magical because I've had to kind of switch on and off with the kids,
Yeah.
with work, doing things, spell casting, things like that. So it's tough, but there's I just consolidate, I suppose, is the best way. Just
Consolidate.
into one monthly no, just
It
who
helps
I
that your
am.
business is your magic, though.
Yeah, it does help.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that otherwise that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really liked about hanging out with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, I knew a fair bit about you, but you don't really know someone until
Right.
you are, standing in front of them having a conversation.
Hmm.
And it was just really cool to be around you because it was like, I know that we can have a conversation about cool magical stuff like at any given
Right.
moment, and that's totally normal.
Hmm.
But we can also just like, I don't know, go
Just
and
have-
have dinner and
Yeah.
yeah,
Hang out with the kids
just
in the
have
yard.
a good mundane old time.
Yeah, exactly.
Take
Aw.
crabs on a beach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
try and
go
get the
crabbing.
crabs. We didn't get any crabs.
That's not true.
No, we didn't.
Morgaine had like 3 crabs.
Oh yeah, the
You
baby
did? You got
crabs.
crabs?
Don't you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Teeny baby
There were tiny
crabs.
ones,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
dark. You were a
Aw.
bit drunk and almost
Oh,
falling over
well. No, oh yeah,
It
on
was
the beach.
on the beach.
I thought you were talking
Yeah.
about when we went crabbing with the bacon in the buckets. I'm like, we did not catch a
No, we didn't
single
No, we
crab.
did not. No.
was very bad. Terrible.
It was weird.
Everyone else was catching crabs.
Everyone else got crabs.
I tell
We
you,
were trying so hard.
Oh,
I was a little bit drunk that night, though, to be fair.
yeah.
It was good.
It was a nice time. Mundane, very mundane.
Monday.
Yeah.
See, it's good.
Mundane crab picking.
Yeah, crab getting.
List
Oh.
of things to do. Mundane. Number 1, go pick some crabs.
Oh my god.
I think next time we go, we should do it again. But you know what? We should try and find a place in Bosecastle
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
because there's so much more to see
Yeah.
than just the
Yeah,
museum
that
as
place
well.
was
There's other things.
amazing.
Oh, it was so beautiful there.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. I
That
loved
was
being there.
crazy.
It was lovely.
Yeah. How has your practice evolved?
Mm.
Ooh.
Ooh. I think it's so gradual.
Mm.
Like it's hard to say like, yeah, there have been some defining moments. I think the biggest defining moment in my craft was like realizing the presence of the Morrigan in my life
Okay.
and being like, oh, this is real. Oh my goodness. Okay. So much makes
Aw.
sense. That was incredible for me. But I think before then, and even after then, in many ways, it was just like gradually, oh, I'm going to pick up this book. Oh, I've learned this thing. Oh, I learned this thing in university about like pagan religions. And okay, that's cool. And now that's in my holster. It's just such a gradual little process for me, that it's hard to even pinpoint those moments when it became more advanced. I don't know, what about you guys as well? Because I guess that's different.
Well,
Me?
I don't know. I want to see what you say.
That was my practice about. I don't even think my practice has started, has it?
It has.
Has it?
It's in its adolescence.
I started looking into healing. I think that was the biggest evolution in my practice, and actually practicing healing magic. And I still struggle to know if I'm actually like doing a good job or not. And I think once I can conquer that, I think I'll probably be ready to level up. But I've gotten a lot of signs this month that I need to actually start like
Listening to
low magic, like, crafting things like with herbs and practical magic. And I'm like, yes, okay, thank you.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And not more than one person has told me now that I need to start taking lessons from him, which is very rude of them, because because have you ever listened to your husband? I mean, it's like, that's very rude to tell me. Well, it is, because you're so bossy about
But you
it.
tell them you don't listen to me. You wear it as a badge of pride.
I do.
I never
It's
listen
right
to a
here.
word you say.
I love you, but
I love you too. But start this thing.
Yeah. So there's my evolution. I'm being told to evolve, and I'm saying no.
No. I refuse.
No, thank you. I'll pass. Go ahead, your turn.
Mine went kind of at one point, I can't pinpoint it, but at one point there was this reaching for the stars, almost this kind of thing that I want to break ground. I want to be advanced. I wish, I want it all. I want it all. And there's the pure ambition of it. And in my pursuit to want it all, I found that actually I don't have anything. And I never will. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's not what it's about. Once I came to terms with that, once I understood that, I've actually got closer to where I wanted to be than I originally did. That I don't know how to explain it. It's become something for me. Whereas like magic, I spent years trying to understand, because this is how my brain was, the mechanics of magic, what magic is, where does it originate? It must come from somewhere. It must have something. There must be attributes to it.
Right.
To realize that it's actually more beneficial if you don't know.
Yeah.
Wise women, wise men of the past, the old forms of witches, these people couldn't read. These people couldn't write. They could write their name, perhaps, but they knew magic, and they were good. They were powerful with magic because they didn't question it. They didn't allow these forms of doubt of where is it coming from. They knew if they was to do this, it would have an effect. And I think that's where that for me is in many ways. It's about that. Because you can drive yourself crazy. You could spend lifetimes trying to figure things out, figure out why did this work when I did this? Why did this happen when I did this? And instead it's about that kind of trusting yourself, trusting that it did work because I willed it to work, and that's that. End of. I know how a television works. I know how to use a television, but I couldn't build one. I couldn't tell you how it actually works. And the same with almost everything.
Right.
But you don't need to know in order to use it.
You don't need to know. That's good advice.
I think that moment is that humbling moment that I think most people have at some point if they stick around long enough is so important. It's so important because I think that's like a real turning point in, are you going to use your craft to explore your freedom and your power as an individual? Or are you going to use this in order to exert control over other people, or use this in a, you know, in a dodgier way? I mean, you see that with the
Right.
history, like,
Oh,
of the occult. It's crazy. There's like so many links to the occult and fascism. Just because I think of that turning point where you either have to realize, oh, I don't know anything, or you kind of stay in the I know everything, I'm going to use this badly
yeah.
place.
I think that's
Yeah.
oftentimes my aunts would tell me that back then they referred to it as white magic or black magic, which is no term of race.
No, yeah.
I'm not allowed to say that, but it's
Light and dark.
I'm phrasing here.
Mhm.
They said that black magic was more powerful. It was more powerful, but it was more powerful for that very reason. It was just the facade, the upfront, the base. Whereas white magic or lighter forms of magic, they know more, they understand more. It's not a question of a quick fix here and now.
Right.
It's the unseen, the subtle arts rather than the more blastings, things like that. Yeah.
All right.
Do you guys have any like thoughts on, I know the word like fear mongering gets thrown around a lot, but for actual genuine fear mongering of people like saying that they're going to curse someone or something like that, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that works? Do you think that the person even gets cursed? What are they doing? What are they actually doing?
I honestly, if I was to curse someone, I don't tell them.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in any sense. I do understand that there are people who believe it's a psychological thing, that once the person has acknowledged that that person is cursing them.
Yeah.
To me, honestly, if you are cursing, say for instance, if you're going to curse another practitioner, then don't tell them, because obviously they'll take countermeasures. You know, so when I see things online, especially with people saying they're going to curse someone or another practitioner, you're like, why have you done that? Yeah, so I think it's a lot of bark.
Yeah, I think it's fear mongering too.
Yeah, it's fear mongering.
It's like guys who send dick pics.
Is it?
That's exactly what it is.
So you get a dick pic and you just scream and drop the phone and run away.
No, it's just like that kind of reaction, like that. Like you have to show someone like all your like cards up front.
I'm gonna say capabilities.
No, but like showing someone like your hand up front, like I'm gonna curse you, is like sending someone a dick pic. It is. It's like nobody wants that, and nothing is gonna come from it. So we're gonna delete it and block you. Like, what's the point?
That's a good allegory for hexes.
It's like, well, it's
no, like
it's not
if a man sends a woman a dick pic, the woman is gonna be like, "Ooh, juicy! Like something's gonna come from this. We're going on a date now."
Right.
No, she's gonna be like, "You're creepy. I'm gonna delete this and block you, or I'm gonna send it to all my friends and then block you."
before there was like the text messages, you used to have flashes, didn't you?
Flashes.
They did the same thing.
Running out in bus stops.
Yeah. So that's what it is to me.
We had the wanker. We had a guy called the wanker.
Did you like locally?
There was
called the wanker.
Yeah, we just named him the wanker. But he would be in one of those little tunnel arch things that you'd have to walk through. And everyone was like, and my friend, his sister used to have to walk there from work. She said, "Oh," I was like, "What's the matter?" She said, "The wanker was in the tunnel again."
Oh no!
And she said he's getting bold because usually he'd start running if someone was walking. She said he didn't even move this time. I just walked past him. I was like,
no.
It's weird. Isn't it? It's
How
weird.
much? What about the tunnel? Is like, you know,
Maybe
what? I'm
he just
feeling
felt
sexy.
safe. He felt safe.
He's in his little rat haven.
Yeah. I don't know.
Where he belongs.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, this took a weird turn.
You just exclaimed dick pics all of a sudden.
But it makes sense.
Kind of.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you could have just said flexing.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring it down to that.
Well, that's what my mind brought me to.
Well,
So
naturally, it's like when I showed you that bread last night.
yeah, he showed me a picture. It was two loaves of bread next to each other, but looked like a lady's butt with a thong in the middle. I'm like, what are you looking at?
And it was some bread.
Some good bread.
It's
Just
like,
some
actually,
good
dear, I'm
bread.
looking at bread. You don't have to worry about me with things like that. Just look at that. Cool. I can eat that.
Ooh.
Just looking at some buns.
Yeah, just some
buns.
bun.
Quite literally.
Well, yeah, we know who the perv is here. Anyway.
Clearly we do.
There you go. Hit him with the last question.
How has your family's religion and your education affected your outlook on
Oh.
witchcraft?
I love this question.
I really like that question too.
Yeah.
I think so on both fronts enormously and in
Mhm.
extremely different ways. So I've mentioned this quite a few times and I've mentioned it to you guys as well, but I was raised in what is only really described as an evangelical cult. There was a lot of crazy things that went on there. Some of those things including a lot of women would be accused of witchcraft, like seriously. If they behaved in certain ways, you know, if they tried to like exert a little bit more power over perhaps some like male elders in the church and things like that. Even as a child, like you had to be very careful. You had to learn certain things and make like a very good job of not saying the wrong thing. And I was terrible at that. I was terrible at it. I wasn't interested really, especially in things to do with like memorizing Bible verses or Psalms or anything like that. And I think that experience brought me so much, both in learning about the danger of cult-like spaces, collectivist groups. And I think that's something you have to be incredibly mindful of if you are becoming a witch always, even if you start your journey completely solo and intend to continue solo, you never know where you're going to get swept up.
Absolutely.
And I think that was really important. But I think on the strangely positive side of that as well, I was always in sacred spaces. I've always been in sacred spaces growing up. I mean, my dad is a Franciscan friar, visiting the friary full of all the, you know, the monks singing their songs. That's like fairly normal for me.
Right.
And so I always had like that very strong connection to those places. And I think just because of that, I would need something like witchcraft. I need that continuation. And it taught me how to be in those places and then create my own sacred spaces.
Right.
So in the terms of family, massively. In terms of education, a whole different thing, but also massively influential as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like, so I studied ancient civilizations essentially. And a lot of that is learning about paganism from a very academic point of view. And I think that's so helpful. If you are a beginner witch and you can, I would recommend you do that, especially if you are interested in a specific culture, because there's some things that you see these days being taken way out of cultural context that just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I see it a lot with Hellenic paganism because I know so much about ancient Greece. Particularly, the thing that irritates me the most is the oracle thing. People claiming that they're oracles.
Yeah.
To be an oracle of Apollo back in the day, it was a very contentious thing. It was not sitting in your room with tarot cards having oracle abilities or prophetic abilities. It was a highly drug-induced, meditation-induced state of being. And it was also seen in many ways as very frivolous. You know, it wasn't the common people that were going to oracles per se. For the most part, it was kings. Of course, you would have people going up to oracles for all kinds of things, but the bigger oracles, like the Oracle of Delphi, would be visited by kings. And there are many historical pieces of work that document kings going to the oracles, taking and listening to what the oracles have said, taking it very literally, and then leading to their complete demise because of that, because they've misinterpreted the oracle's word and they've infused it with their own ego, and it's never quite clear. It was always delivered in some kind of riddle. And that is just not the same as sitting in your room and having some kind of connection with a deity. I feel like it erases so much history that I'm clearly very passionate about.
Yeah.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
so. What about you guys?
Well, you were an archaeologist prior to
I
this.
was not.
Is it like a prereq? You have to be into his history before you
it
become
does
a
help.
witch.
It does help.
Yeah.
Because you also develop a thing where you research stuff and you look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you kind of know how something's done, you want to know about it and the
Yeah.
reasons for certain things. But yeah, I agree with same with that. There are so many things in archaeology that we don't know about. We may never know about. And there is the famous saying, ritual. When anything you can't explain, someone will say it's ritual, which means we just don't know what it means. They did it for some reason that their own human psyche needed.
Right.
So therefore it's ritual. And knowing things that I know and then being an archaeologist at the same time, you do see because they were still human, and you do have this, you can sometimes fancifully bridge that gap to why things were done, perhaps. But the point in archaeology is they tell you you're not supposed to use your imagination because you'll never know if you can't prove 100% why.
Right.
And but they were unaware of the other things going on at the same time. So it's not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's another beginner witch tip. Research.
Just
develop your researching skills, I think, too, is really important, because a lot of people don't know how to research. And you learn that in college.
Also say, like that doesn't also just mean picking up tons of esoteric books. There are so many good esoteric books. Right. There are also so many just terrible ones.
So many.
And I see people recommending them, being like, this book, it will start you off perfectly. And I'm like,
no, I promise it will not.
I promise you.
Honestly, I think that there are only a few. If you go into quote new age shops,
right,
you're not going to find much in the way of books to help you in your craft of magic. They're just the popular ones. They're just the ones that seem to sell the best.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're actually the best when it comes to it.
Or the best for you, depending on what practice you're going into.
I will say this as well. Magic isn't always a joyride. I think they think that sometimes it's literally just you sitting there. I've got to read this book. There's something I need to know, or even having to do things that you don't want to do, but you have to do them because your guides told you, or something's, it's not always fun.
No,
there are boring bits,
you cry a lot.
You cry a lot.
You're gonna cry.
You get frustrated.
It's not gonna work always.
No, it's
Okay, for other people, it doesn't always work.
Something happens. something always happens. But,
I think you've got to trust as well, like other media that you consume, like read fiction, read history that has nothing to do with what you want to like learn about in your magical practice. That's a massive thing for me, because human beings are just inherently very spiritual and very interesting, and you will learn more from learning about people who are vastly different from you than you probably ever will from people who are like, I have very similar thoughts to you. I have written this book about how to do a protection spell. Buy it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Morgaine, is there anything you want to promote?
You can follow me on TikTok, just at Morgaine.Tarot on Instagram. I go live there very frequently. I do many different readings on my Etsy, which you can get to the link in my bio from all of my social media.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it.
Yay.
Hey.
Awesome. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as Antlered Crown, or on YouTube as Elwyn the Witch. Right there.
What? You can also join our.
Nope.
Nope.
Right there.
I offer a variety of psychic readings. Oh dear.
Least professional podcast. You got it? Deep breath.
Don't, because you give me the giggles. Then it won't stop. Won't stop. All right.
Okay.
I offer a variety of psychic readings. Roger Moore.
Come on, I can't say that.
I offer, you could say he offers, I offer a variety of psychic readings, including bones, tarot, medium connection, deity confirmations, as well as spiritual consultations, which are done live and scheduled via Zoom. I am also offering spell work and custom merchandise, all of which you can find on my website, theantleredcrown.com.
Okay, and you can also join our community on Patreon and get access to our Discord server, group meetings, one-on-ones with Elwyn, tutorials, discounts, and other goodies, depending on the tier level you choose. Speaking of which, here's our Antlered Crown patron shout out, which I didn't update, but it's Girl Riot
All right.
and Silhouin.
Tilwyn.
And if I'm missing
If we've
someone.
mest you, we're sorry.
If
put
we
it that
missed
way.
you, we'll say it the next
We'll
time
say it the
because I
next
wasn't
time.
prepared.
She was,
I'm
and then she
sorry.
wasn't. Put it that way. And always remember.
Tip your witch, bitch.
Mm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.